Let me take you somewhere for a moment. Picture this. You wake up tomorrow morning. You check the gin app on your phone. And suddenly before your eyes, what you see is 0.0. Scratch golfer. Just like that. No grind. No frustrating rounds. No range sessions where nothing felt right. No pressure-packed putts. No moments where you had to choose between quitting and figuring out. It's just done. Box checked. Or maybe you're not a golfer listening to this. You open your phone and you see the number in your bank account. The revenue goal you've been chasing? Check. You've hit it. That business milestone you've been chasing? Boom. Achieved. No risk, no uncomfortable decisions, no sleepless nights, no failures that forced you to grow. Now, let's be honest. If this were to occur, at first, I have an imagination it would feel pretty incredible. But give it a day, maybe two, and something would start to feel off, hollow, even empty. Because you didn't earn it. You didn't build the emotional control required to shoot low under pressure. You didn't develop the discipline to execute when it matters most. You didn't become the version of yourself capable of sustaining that level of performance. So now here you are, standing there with the result, but without the identity. And that's a dangerous place to be. Because deep down, you know it's not real. You know you can't trust it. And you know, if tested, you'd fall right back to where you started. And that's the part most people don't talk about. Most people don't think about. We think we want the outcome. But what we're actually craving is becoming the person who achieves it. And when you skip the process, seek shortcuts, cheat codes, and hacks, yeah, you might get temporary results, but you rob yourself of the very thing that makes these results meaningful, repeatable, and sustainable. So in this episode, we're going to talk about why the process is the point, and why learning to endure and even enjoy it is the real game you need to play and strive to win. Welcome back to another episode of the Scratch Golfer's Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Salter. I'm a high-performance hypnotherapist and mindset coach who helps high-achieving clients just like you get unstuck from the overwhelming collection of limiting beliefs, toxic emotions, and sabotaging behaviors that hold you back from being all that you can be and achieving all that you can achieve. And I'm so grateful that you're here. Remember, this is a peak performance and personal development podcast disguised as a golf mindset podcast. And this is a very timely reminder specific to today's conversation that whether you're here for the golf, whether you're here for your entrepreneurial endeavors, or just here to become the best version of you, these pursuits, golf, entrepreneurship, business ownership, they are merely mirrors of your own personal development journey. The challenges you experience on the course, in the boardroom, are all really just spotlights onto the areas of opportunity and growth within you that you've yet to conquer, the skills you've yet to develop to level up and ascend to that next level. And today's conversation is one you need to hear. It's my hope that it causes a little friction. It creates a little tension. You feel spoken to directly. And I want to begin this conversation with what I would describe as a funny story, but one I imagine is incredibly relatable to you. I want to tell you about my client, Dave. Last year alone, Dave bought 2 different putters, multiple putter-specific training aids, and even purchased my Putt with Confidence guided hypnosis audio. He changed which golf balls he used multiple times, and he alternated between making his ball have extra lines and markings versus just leaving it alone and hitting it as it came in the package. And Dave's goal should be obvious. He wanted to improve his putting. Despite his continued efforts to improve his putting, however, the outcome remained the same. He'd consistently feel anxious and uncomfortable standing over a putt, especially if it were his second putt. In his mind, a 3-putt was a cardinal sin. It was the sign of a poor golfer and something that should be avoided at all costs. Yet, Dave still tallied between 3 and 5 3-putts every single round, losing significantly in the category of strokes gained while on the putting green. And candidly, look, Dave knew he needed to practice putting more. He purchased an at-home putting mat, and he remained consistently inconsistent in its use. However, when he was in a period of consistency, he putted quite well. Well, at least he putted quite well on the putting mat in the comfortability and the familiarity of his own garage. Now, Dave also had this belief that a putter change could potentially alleviate all of his challenges. So he purchased 2 last year. And at the first sign of a few 3-putts in a single round, he'd switch putters. Yes. You heard me right. He would often carry 2 different putters in his bag throughout a round. He knew deep down he would benefit indescribably by taking a few putting-specific lessons with his local pro. But he also believed that simultaneously taking a putting-specific lesson with a local pro was a waste of time. You see, Dave, and maybe you, felt that lessons were specifically designed for the full swing and for short course work, whereas putting, it's so simple. It's something that he should be able to figure out on his own. And what's funny about this situation, the reason I use that word to describe it, was that in his weekly game, it became somewhat of a running joke. Which putter will Dave be using today? Will Dave switch putters before or after the 9th hole? His friends would literally wager on each of those propositions before Dave showed up on the course. And believe it or not, Dave's pattern of behavior, it had been ongoing for nearly 2 years. This pattern of constantly rotating putters, ebbing and flowing between consistently using his at-home putting mat and various training aids, with periods of not touching that cursed club. Dave knew he needed a lesson, or 10, but his ego got in the way. Even more deeply, Dave knew his putting woes had nothing to do with his actual ability to putt. Rather, his ability to manage his emotions and actually execute a practice plan that was designed to help him improve as a putter. Yet for almost 2 years, he did the same thing over and over. And as you can imagine, he experienced the same result. I mean, talk about insane. And then one round, Dave hit 7 greens in regulation on the front 9. He 3-putted 5 times. Enraged in a fit of anger after missing out on a chance to shoot a new personal best, Dave was beyond heated as he left the course. So much so that on his drive back to his car, he literally threw the putter responsible for the 3-putting on the front 9 into one of the course ponds. Funny, yes. Sad? Also, yes. Relatable? I have a hunch it's probably more relatable than you want to admit. You see, Dave's approach to becoming a better putter was filled with seeking shortcuts. If I can hack this, create or find some type of cheat code, or this putter's the one, this ball runs at a different pace, whatever it may be, Dave was unwilling, avoidant when it came to putting in the real work necessary to become a better putter. And I want to leverage that story in the introduction I shared to now share with you 10 specific reasons, underlying reasons, as to why you are so wired and programmed to continuously chase shortcuts before opening your eyes to just how costly and detrimental that is and providing you with a meaningful solution and some strategies moving forward. Number one, you are programmed to take shortcuts as a way to avoid discomfort. When we talk about growth in its most simplistic form, it's the mere stepping outside your comfort zone. By default, by definition, that is uncomfortable. And your subconscious is wired to keep you in this bubble of comfort. It's predictable, it's familiar, therefore it's safe. So long as you remain safe, your subconscious has done its job. But again, the process of growth, it's uncomfortable. Uncertainty, pressure, frustration, failure, lack of control. Shortcuts promise relief from those emotions in the short term. But what inevitably happens is those emotions, remember, emotion is literally just energy in motion. Those emotions, that energy, just gets stuffed, repressed deeper and deeper and deeper. And inevitably, that pipe is going to burst. Reason number two. In today's day and age, well, that was a little redundant. Instant gratification. You are addicted to immediate feedback. Quick fixes give you a fast hit of progress and therefore a fast hit of dopamine. And if it's not a fast hit of progress, it's at least a perceived or illusion of progress. And candidly, your brain prefers instant gratification over delayed earned results because it feels good. Whereas the time it takes to achieve meaningful results is filled with periods of uncertainty and discomfort. And if you're prone to seeking shortcuts, it's a way to avoid those necessary periods of discomfort. Number three, you have mistaken and confused activity with progress. Whether it be buying another putter, a driver, another training ed, watching this YouTube or TikTok video for this hack, this shortcut, this cheat code, this swing thought, this swing feel. All of this feels productive. It is action. But it's random. Random action produces random results. Unintentional action produces unintentional results. And this is so relatable and transferable into the business world, especially if you're a solopreneur or you work for yourself in some capacity here. Like doing for the sake of doing feels good, but if you're not doing the big needle moving activities, focusing on the big rocks to take yourself and your business to that next level, you're just stuck on the hamster wheel of life. Number four, you don't yet trust yourself. Shortcut seeking is often a lack of self-trust. You begin to convince yourself that if I just find the right tip, then I'll finally be able to perform. But for me, like at least in my experience, because I'm guilty of that in the golf world, it creates so much unknown and uncertainty. It creates anxiety. Like I have to show up on the course and wonder, is today's flavor of the day when it comes to swing thought or feel gonna hold up? And I use this analogy quite often, but like this, if we run with this putting example, like there's a core wound there related to beliefs, fears, emotions. And if that's a bullet wound, severe, significant, continuing to buy a new putter or utilize a new training aid is like putting a Band-Aid over it. And it's showing up at the course on it with a Band-Aid over your bullet wound, wondering, am I going to bleed out or not today? Yeah, a little anxiety is sure to be present. Number five, your propensity to seek shortcuts is an attempt to avoid or bypass failure. Like, look, Social media paints this picture that you can have this overnight success experience. You want the outcome without experiencing any of the mistakes that come from it. But failure, learning lessons, mistakes, that's where calibration and growth actually occurs. Remember, every outcome is just that, an outcome, a data point, feedback. And again, if you were to wake up tomorrow morning with X number of dollars in your bank account, or your GIN saying you're a 0.0 handicap and you haven't put in the work, well, then you haven't learned anything. So it might be, again, a brief moment that is euphoric, filled with elation, but that quickly fades. Now what? Now what? Number 6, you're overwhelmed by too many options. This is where I bring in that term again, shiny object syndrome. You have 15 bajillion different YouTube and TikTok and Instagram videos to choose from to find the flavor of the day or the voice that most resonates with you for the mental game thought, the swing thought or swing feel you think you need in that moment to play well. All of this information, this overwhelm, creates indecision. And taking a shortcut feels like a way to simplify and regain control. But again, what's happening is by taking a shortcut, you simply just achieve a place of having without ever becoming. Think about that. Number 7, you want certainty in an uncertain process. Oh man, this one's fucking hard to stomach. I get it. It's paradoxical. It goes back to swinging the club. To gain control, you got to let go of control. But listen, golf, business, life are all inherently unpredictable. One of the safest bets you can make is to expect the unexpected. To expect things to take longer and be harder than you first imagined or anticipated. Yet shortcuts give you the illusion of control and predictability. It takes me back to a childhood memory. I'm going to get a bit off topic, but it's related, I promise. I used to play this computer game, this PC game. It was called Age of Empires. And it was more or less like building a civilization. You could be like the Aztecs or the Mongolians, and you had this map that you couldn't see. You could only see on the map where you had actually explored, what part of the territory. And you had to build a civilization, you had to build a military, then of course dominate the enemies and take over that world. Well, I discovered, and I don't remember how, because I feel like the internet was in such its infancy back then, but a cheat code where, normally you had to have if you wanted to build a house, for example, or I think they call it a town hall, you had to have a couple peasant workers build it. And it would take anywhere from 30 seconds to 5 minutes to build. These people are slaving away building this house. So it would take time, is my point. And I discovered this cheat code. I still remember it. AEGIS. You hit whatever prompt opened the control panel, you typed in AEGIS, you hit enter, and suddenly you would build buildings from town halls to houses to castles and fortresses in the snap of a finger. And obviously, I thought this was a massive competitive advantage. I had now just gained control over the pace at which I could build my military, build my infantry, build my civilization to continue farming food and whatnot. Well, lo and behold, it gave the enemy that same ability to build at rapid pace. So suddenly, as I'm just sitting there, jaw dropped to the floor in excitement about how fast I can now build my military, I'm getting fucking attacked already because the cheat code applied to the whole game. And again, I just remember that momentary feeling of control. And then it helped me really quickly come back to reality and understand, well, shit, I still don't have a strategy in place nor the foundation to successfully defend my civilization, let alone attack and conquer the other one. And again, it was that shortcut gave me a brief moment of control and feeling of certainty in an uncertain game. Fortunately, I kicked those Mongolians' ass. The Aztecs prevailed. But I digress. Great game, by the way. Truly, truly enjoyed that. Funny enough, brought it back in college, played a little bit with my roommate, showed him who's boss. Dalton, that's right, I got you. Kicked your ass in Age of Empires. Okay, we're back on track. Number 8, the reason you have this propensity to seek shortcuts. You're constantly comparing yourself to others. Look, I get it. I'm guilty of it too at times. Social media makes it incredibly easy because everyone posts a highlight reel of their life. You see someone else succeeding, you assume there's got to be this faster way that you're missing out on. So you go hunting for it. And I run into this. Like, I consider myself pretty significantly above average. Well, that was not a good confident statement. An above average athlete. I'm strong, I'm fit, I'm mobile. So why am I not a single digit handicap already? I don't get it. This game of golf, like, why is it proven so challenging? Everybody else seems to be getting there faster. Again, this is the story I've told myself at times. I know it's not true, but it's what I see on social media, what I've convinced myself to believe. And I imagine there's some relatability there, whether in the game of golf or in your entrepreneurial and business endeavors, maybe in your marriage, your relationship seeking journey. So my reminder for you is you're exactly where you're supposed to be, moving at the pace that you're exactly supposed to move. And the reason you might be stagnant is there's still lessons to learn, skills to develop before you ascend to that next level, or you begin to ascend at a faster pace. Number 9, and this one is just a part of life. You are conditioned by marketing. The world, the internet constantly sells faster, easier, better. And this candidly was like my number one competition when I was really deep in the sustainable weight loss aspect of coaching. All of these companies, technologies, pills, medicines promising lose 30 pounds in 30 minutes. And yeah, I mean, where we are technologically and pharmaceutically speaking, there is some rapid, fast fucking results available in the realm of health, fitness, diet, weight loss. But at what cost? Because again, even if you are right now listening, you're struggling with your weight, your fitness, and you were to wake up tomorrow 50 pounds lighter, whatever your unique goal is, you might feel good for a couple of days, but you haven't built the beliefs, the behaviors, or the identity necessary to sustain it. And in addition to that, I imagine there's an accompanying feeling of emptiness, hollowness, undeservingness, unworthiness, like an imposter. It was a fluke. You don't deserve it. It's not a fun place to be. Number 10, you haven't committed to creating the identity required. At their core, shortcuts are an identity leak. You continue to operate like someone looking for answers instead of someone who executes and learns. Look, all the information you need is available. All the intangibles and skills you need are already within you. Of course, they need to be developed to different degrees, and you need to continue to accumulate repetitions and take smart, intentional, deliberate action to the technical aspect of the game, but also your mindset and the mental and emotional aspect of the game. But what I need you to hear is shortcuts aren't a strategy. They're a form of avoidance dressed up as progress. Again, shortcuts aren't a strategy. They're a form of avoidance dressed up as progress. So now what? What's the next step, the solution? To make the perspective shift, the reframe, to begin programming yourself to endure and even enjoy the process, the time required to achieve meaningful results. Well, first and foremost, and I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but you got to shift away from outcome attachment to ownership of your process. And one helpful way to do that is to redefine what it means to win. In the golf world, winning a round could be committing to every shot with a clear target and routine. And something I've recently started doing with some of my clients is I literally have them open their notes app on their phone and just make a numbered list for however many shots they end up needing to complete that round of 18. And let's say it's, 84 shots, and it's just putting a green check mark or a red X in terms of number of times they successfully executed their pre-shot routine. That's great visual, immediate feedback. And hopefully in time, they see less and less red. Entrepreneurially speaking, if you don't have some form of planning routine in place, well, that's a conversation for a different day. But my point being, you should wake up already with a clear awareness of the top 3 tasks for the day. And then I'm a huge fan of writing by hand. I use a planner and I write my big 3 for the day the night before. I plan tomorrow today and I simply check off or cross off each task when it's been completed. That's the win of the day. And at the end of the day, when I review, did I win the day? It's as simple as looking, did I accomplish the 3 tasks that I deemed most important for the day? Number 2, create a simple, non-negotiable structure. I've talked at length about structure the last couple of episodes. If you've missed them, I can't recommend enough. You go back and listen to the last few episodes on structure. There's 2 solo episodes and 1 guest episode by Mr. Kevin Cahill, all about structure. But here's the point for this conversation. Structure removes emotional decision-making. Shortcut seeking thrives in unstructured environments. But when structure is in place, you don't ask, do I feel like it? You ask, did I execute it? Number 3, lower the emotional cost of mistakes. Again, this is all about reframing your relationship with failures, underperformance, and mistakes. It's data, it's feedback, it's an opportunity for calibration, and you need to really expect them to happen, especially on the golf course. Like, again, we just shared a few minutes ago, the safest bet you can make is to expect the unexpected. If we put that in golf speak, the safest bet to make is to expect mistakes, poor outcomes, and bad shots. And just understand that that is part of the number of reps required to become who you're becoming to achieve whatever handicap or score or tournament goal you have for yourself. Number 4, this is perhaps my favorite, the one I really want you to hear clearly and closely. You need to train your nervous system to stay in the discomfort of the experience. This is the real work. When you are overwhelmed or consumed by a wave of emotion, it is very easy to seek anything and everything to provide immediate relief. So whether that be on the course or in your business, the moment discomfort shows up, your instinct is to speed up, fix, numb, escape, or repress. And instead, I want to challenge you to practice staying in the moment, riding that wave of emotion, sitting with it. Practically speaking, pause after a bad shot instead of rushing on to the next one. After a rejection on a sales call, sit in silence for a couple of minutes rather than opening email or grabbing your phone. Through consistent execution of this, you're literally beginning to teach your body and nervous system, this is safe. I can be here. And the last reframe I want to offer is to detach from the timeline. This is where most high performers sabotage themselves. And you listening right now, I have an imagination you're willing to do the work, as long as it works fast enough. That hidden urgency creates pressure, which drives shortcut-seeking behavior. Instead, consider adopting a longer time horizon that feels a little bit more doable, feasible. I don't like the word comfortable in this instance, but that could jive for you possibly. And maybe the better reframe underneath it all is, I'm not in a rush, I'm in a pursuit. You can still operate with intensity like we discussed last week. Yet, alongside that intensity can be expectation that it takes what it takes. And that so long as you remain ruthlessly committed to your process, consistent ownership of the process, and consistent execution of the process, you're going to make meaningful results in that given period or season of intensity. And then after said season, you take all of the pieces of feedback and data you've collected and you recalibrate appropriately. So I want to close this conversation with the following. Shortcut seeking isn't the problem, it's the symptom of impatience, lack of self-trust, an identity that hasn't fully committed yet. When you reprogram how you relate to the process, You stop needing shortcuts. And ironically, that's when results start showing up faster than ever. Remember, the journey is the goal. The journey is encapsulated by experiencing, learning, failing, growing, iterating over and over and over. And whether it be golf or entrepreneurship, remember, each is just a mirror of your own personal development journey. Fall in love with the journey. Fall in love with the journey. I thank you so much for listening to today's conversation. Go share this episode. Someone you know needs to hear this message. Go share it with him or her. Hit the copy link to share, send it via text message, Instagram DM, but go share it. Consider posting it on social media, on your Instagram story. Tag me at the Paul Salter. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what stood out, what most resonated with you. And if there's anything I can do to support you in helping you double down on the deep work necessary to become who you need to become to achieve all that you desire and deserve, well, then I invite you to use the link in the show notes to apply for one-on-one coaching with me. I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to reviewing your application. And I thank you so much for listening to today's show. Have a great rest of your day, a strong start to the week, and I'll catch you in Thursday's episode.